Stop
what was
crying.
being shown,
You better
right?
stop
It was
crying. Let me
stop
give you
crying,
something to cry
toughen
about.
up. Right, exactly. And that's how we viewed masculinity at that point type deal. And if you crying, you were a crybaby. You were this, you
You
were that
you
type deal.
soft.
You
You
soft,
soft.
right. But nowadays, that's like, no, you need to be able to express how you feel, and you need to do that, and that's okay, and that's strength in being
In
able
some
to do
settings,
that. In some settings as
still not
well.
acceptable everywhere.
Well, and it's not, but I think
And
that's
that's
part
part of
of
the
the
challenge.
evolution as well too, right,
Hmm. And I think we have to start demanding it too. That
right.
Right.
we need to make it let's say normalize it. Right? We need to normalize the ability of people to express themselves how they choose to express themselves. And because I just feel like part of what's wrong with the culture is that the emotions don't go away. You just sort of
Right.
paper over them, and the impact is far more corrosive over time because you're papering over them. So to me, I feel like I have learned over time it's better to sort of get them out or be able to deal with them opposed to sort of somehow hiding them or paper overing them because eventually they will reveal themselves. And usually it's in a self-destructive way.
But I think part of the challenge is for a lot of men, first off, is even understanding what those emotions are, because that's not something they've ever been taught to deal with. See,
Right.
the only acceptable emotion for a lot of men is anger. That's
Right.
the only one that's been considered socially acceptable in most settings, is for a
Mhm.
man to get angry. A lot of men filter all of their other emotions through an angry lens. And so,
Mhm.
because that's the only emotion that's acceptable, that's the only one that they think is supposed to come out. And so, the only way for the other things to come out is cloaked in anger or
Mhm.
misinterpreted because they don't know how to deal with these other ones. The first level and the first key is being able to have a full emotional vocabulary, right?
Yep.
You know, you were using that
Mhm.
term emotional intelligence earlier. Understanding the difference between anger and other
Mhm.
emotions, right? Or and not confusing things like the pleasure from sex with being happy or something
Mhm.
like that.
Mhm.
Emotions versus physical expressions. Things like
Hmm.
I think is really important for boys to learn that they have a full spectrum of emotions and learn how to interpret them and learn how to express them early on. And I think we're kind of built with that to a certain degree, but because we are socialized to only express anger, the other ones get kind of use it, you lose it to a certain degree.
It's a
And so
muscle
right,
that you
and you
gotta
don't
Mhm.
build.
learn them fully, and so I think that can be a challenge, and I think generationally, that impacts men, right? If you're being taught
Mhm.
by men that this is what a man is supposed to do, if the men that are teaching you only know this, then that's all that you might learn, unless you stumble across it in some other sources or some other places. So
I wonder, this is so interesting, bros, because as we talk about this, I keep reflecting on who started that. How did started saying that, okay, as a man, you aren't allowed to show emotions of caring or sadness or concern. And where did that stem from? The only society being a westernized society that really perpetrate that. I'd be curious to hear from our audience, from different societies and different cultures. How was that through the years? Because again, what's wrong with a man showing their emotion, but yet does that mean they can't be a provider? Does that mean they can't be a protector? Does that mean they can't be the one that
Mhm.
is still managing the care of the family just because they're showing emotions? How
Mhm.
did that actually ever come about to be like, well, dag, if you crying, you soft, you're not gonna be able to protect your family. Who said that?
Mhm.
How did that ever
Mhm.
come about that
somebody
that
got
has
chose as
become
the
the
victim
acceptable
because they
norm
looked
type
soft or
deal?
whatever, and so it started happening.
You had
People
to
Mhm.
who
look
showed
hard. You had to look hard.
Mhm.